Good evening, and thank you so much to those of you that have joined us on this live broadcast, live discussion, which is basically centered on Constituency Development Fund, as you can see from the caption. And we're so glad that you've taken time to join us on this particular evening. And so we'll be very glad that instantly you get into the comment section and give us what your observations are with regards to the implementation and management of the Constituency Development Fund in your various constituencies, in your various districts, in your various provinces. We want to hear from you also what has been the situation on the ground. I will be joined by, I am rather already joined by Mr. Marvin Mukela, who is the Public Relations Manager for the Livingstone City Council. But before I invite Mr. Mukela to greet you, I want to instantly mention that this particular conversation is brought to you by the Alliance for Community Action and also its partners. But maybe just a little background. This conversation or these conversations will time and again come with regards to Constituency Development Fund, and these have been brought with a study, which is a baseline study that was conducted by the Alliance for Community Action in Mazabuka and Milanzi constituencies, that is on the southern region as well as eastern regions of the country. Now, the baseline study was carried out to assess the extent to which social accountability for Constituency Development Fund is being done in the two constituencies and later on in the two regions. Now, these shows will seek to address the issues raised in the baseline study. If you also want to, get the content of this baseline study, you're free to get to the Alliance for Community Action Facebook page, which is Alliance for Community Action Zambia. You can also go to the website, which is ACA Zambia.org. You will be able to get all the information that you would need to know about this baseline study. Now, this conversation, as well as the baseline study, is part of the Deepening Democracy Facility project, which is being implemented by Alliance for Community Action Zambia with support from Diaconia, and is aimed, like I said, at enhancing social accountability for CDF in Mazabuka and Milanzi constituencies, that is on the southern and eastern parts of the country. I do have my two guests this evening. Mr. Moses Sakala is a community engagement manager for a civil society organization known as Development 360. Thank you so much, sir. It's a pleasure to have you. Good evening.
Good evening, and good evening, viewers.
Yes, it's viewers. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Sakala. We would have talked about Manchester United, but the owners, the facilitators will not allow us. But I saw the scores earlier that Manchester United we're failing to beat a small team, but Manchester United is our team. I'm sure including Mr. Mukela also supports Manchester United. Mr. Mukela, good evening. Mr. Mukela, Marvin is the spokesperson or public relations manager for the Livingstone City Council. Thank you so much, sir, for finding time to be with us this evening.
Thank you. Good evening, viewers, and those that are listening to us from all corners of the country. Are you able to get me?
It's like he's lost connectivity.
But I'm able to get you. What has happened then? The host, Mr. Mova is the one who has lost the connectivity.
Gabriel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I can see his photo is frozen.
Okay, so we apologize. We were kicked out by internet. I hope that now it will be stable. I was just inviting you, Mr. Sakala, to give us an observation with regards to the implementation of Continuous Development Fund in Livingstone. What have you observed as Development 360 so far? I don't know, Mr. Sakala, can you hear me?
I'm not getting you. I'm not getting you.
Oh, I'm asking. Are you able to get me now? Can you hear me, Mr. Mkela? Can you hear me?
Yes, please, I can.
Okay, probably it's Mr. Sakala's mic settings. Try to set properly. But I was just asking, Mr. Mkela, so may give us a highlight of. We understand that Continuous Development Fund has three focus areas at the moment. In Livingstone so far as 2024 is concerned, how are we faring in terms of these various focus areas?
Thank you very much. As you may be aware, the expansion of the CDF that started in 2022 had given a massive work for local authorities. So in our implementation, of course, as we have mentioned, we look at three key areas. So these are community projects. We look at youth and women empowerment, as well as bursaries. So these are the three components that we focus on in the implementation of CDF projects. So for 2024, of course, you may be aware that the projects were approved this year by Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, and about 22 projects were approved for Livingstone constituency. Other than that, we are also looking at a component to do with youth and women empowerment. We are also looking at bursaries. So, looking in depth, you discover that we have not yet, of course, received funds for 2024, but then we had funds for 2023 that we still had, because even when we were implementing these projects, you find that you don't pay everything at once. You still remain with something in the bank. So then we used that part of that money to implement on the other components, especially to do with the bursaries, because when pupils have been accepted at various secondary boarding schools, and also students pursuing skill development at various colleges are accepted, they need to start. So we had to look for this money so that we pay, so that these individuals can report to school. So I can safely indicate to you that over these three components, at least we can safely say that we have managed to pay for pupils and students that have reported to various schools.
Thank you so much. I'll come to you, Mr. Mkela, a bit late. I would want us to categorize these particular focus areas of the Continuous Development Fund. Mr. Sakala, I don't know if you can hear me now. Are you able to get the conversation?
I'm getting you a bit.
A bit. Probably it's connectivity. But then my question to you was, we have heard what Mr. Mkela has said. I'd asked him, maybe try to amplify the volume on your phone or computer.
I've done that. There's
right,
nothing
all right.
happening.
Okay, but I'm glad that you are able to get me now. What is your observation with regards implementation of Continuous Development Fund in Livingstone as a civil society organization?
Well, I'll say CDF in our constituency is implemented on a very slow note at the end of the day, because many of the monitoring team, I think for me, they're not doing a very great job to do the monitoring, to be aggressive in the monitoring, and to make sure to say people that have been awarded contracts are actually delivering to the point, because from the reports that we've been seeing to say this project was given to contract A, and this is what has happened, is 80%, is 50%. Some of the contractors have actually not even delivered at the end of the day, but they were paid some of the monies. So for me, we are still very far to talk about CDF in our constituency that it has actually uh, performed wonders. Yes, I would give them a 52%. The 48%, we are still very far away from doing the correct thing.
Thank you so much, and I'm very glad, Mr. Sakala, that you've noted that some of the projects have stalled in as far as Constituency Development Fund is concerned. Mr. Mgala, I do remember very well. I have read the Auditor General's report for 2023, I think 2022, which found Livingstone wanting among other constituencies in terms of delay to complete some projects. And I remember, if I'm not mistaken, the month at which this particular report was done should be September last year. And Livingstone was queried in terms of not completing some projects despite having funded, according to the Auditor General's report, in as far as Constituency Development Fund is concerned. Would we then say that some of the delay to complete some of these projects, like Mr. Sakala has observed, is attributed to maybe lack of efficiency by some of the contractors that you as a local authority has given tenders to in terms of delivering either community projects? The recent one being the 5,000 desks that was yet to be supplied to schools as at December 2023.
Thank you very much. I'm glad that you have mentioned the auditor's report that is coming from 2022, a CDF projects. Of course, we do acknowledge that in that report, yeah, we were found to be one of the constituencies that had delayed in terms of completing projects. And of course, we have our own reasons. If you look at the 2022 projects, you would discover that 3/4 of the projects were to do with the grading and graveling of roads. And you discover that because of the challenge that we had in terms of the grader, of course, implementation of that particular project proved to be quite slow. But in terms of these other projects, of course, we are doing very, very well. And I'm happy to mention that when we come to 2022 CDF projects, I think 90% of all those projects have been completed, and also they have been commissioned. Very few of them are yet to be commissioned, but I can say that they have been completed. When we come to 2023 CDF projects, of course, we only had about 6 projects. And when you look at 2023 projects, you discover that generally we did very well, except one area, which is to do with the desks. But when you look at these other projects, like the construction of the maternity annex, the rehabilitation of the construction of maternity annex at Maramba Clinic, the rehabilitation of Nakatindi Clinic, that is maternity wing, and these other projects, the procurement of the motor grader, these were done on time. And that is why when you look at 2022 projects, the councils that are termed to have done very well are those that had prioritized the purchase of machinery, because they use the money at once, and then they looked to be very, very efficient. But councils like ourselves, who had chosen to do projects, of course, with that massive amount of money, and the approvals also were a little bit late. So you find that really we seemed as if we didn't perform well, but we did well. So with the challenges that we had, of course, it was a learning process. And it is from that background that in 2023, we did improve tremendously, except in one area which we struggled. But even that, I think we tried by all means to push these contractors so that at the end of the day, the desks which were not delivered should have been delivered. And also we took action to certain individuals, certain contractors that had failed to to live up to the contract terms. So really, this time around, I think we cannot be, of course, compared to the 2022 projects. I think this time around we are quite efficient and we are on point. So going forward, of course, 2024, we look forward to completing these projects on time, especially that the resources are readily available whenever these resources are requested. We are given. So we have no excuse, of course, to delay implementing the project for 2024.
Mr. Mkala, if I don't know if I'm getting you clearly, can we say that some of the projects that have not been completed in 2022, 2023, now in 2024, as a result of inefficiencies from the contractors that we chose, or it's because funding has not been coming on time from Treasury?
No, of course, the money is there. When the money is, of course, given to us, we normally give a statement that we have received the money. But not doing a project should not be attributed to the delayed funding, because we know we've been assured that money is there. So right now, for 2023 CDF projects, we have started advertising and awarding contracts, and they can go on the ground and start doing the work, so that as the money comes, these individuals are given these resources. So then we have no excuse whatsoever to indicate that we have failed to implement these projects because of the money. Because we are sure, and it is 100% sure that every year we are expected to receive these monies. So for projects that have been approved for 2022, of course, most of these projects are to do with the roads, but those that are not to do with the roads, we have started, of course, advertising, and of course, like on Friday, some contractors came for them to be able to be shown the sites where they needed to do the projects. So we are on course, and we hope that these contractors that we are contracting, they will be able to live up to the contract. Of course, it is true when we mention that certain projects have been delayed, not because there are no funds, but because the contractors themselves are inefficient. And this is something that we've been addressing, so that these contractors, the local contractors that we have, can, of course, prove to us that they are the best contractors that we can rely on to be given this contract, so that they execute. So in order for us to raise the bar, or to improve on the works that we have seen that they have not been done well, of course, we've been engaging these contractors. Last year, 2023, we had several meetings where these contractors were called and advised, and also just to educate them on what is supposed to be done. So we now know that at least people know what they are supposed to do. Therefore, we do not expect these contractors to have a laissez-faire kind of an attitude. And of course, as the Livingstone City Council, we cannot afford to have contractors that are failing us, and therefore such contractors will not hesitate, but to take an action, so that we give these contracts to people that are serious, that are able to execute these projects in the agreed time frame.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mkala. Mr. Sakala, let me come to you. We've identified erring contractors as the main reason for delayed completion of CDF projects, even when some of these contractors have been funded by the council, in this case, the Livingstone City Council. Where do you think then is the main problem, and how should we deal with that problem? You kindly unmute your microphone. You are muted. Check your microphone. You're muted.
The main problem here is the council. When choosing or when awarding contracts, why award a contract to somebody that has no capacity? Why award a contract to somebody whose registration is questionable? For example, today, if we went to Dambwa North, there's that drainage that is around Saxon's complex. People have been working there for ages. They should have finished by now, but there's nothing happening, meaning the contractor is inefficient. We need to give contracts to people with right papers, repeatable organization that have even a very good workforce at the end of the day, and the people that can engineer development and involve the local people. Because many of these contractors that we see, well, they're sorry side, because how do you award a contract to a company that was just born 2 years ago, because we've had to say the CDF, and then you want to give it because this company is registered and there's somebody who is behind that company. That is the problem. This is why the council fails to take action on such people, because some of these companies are politically inclined, such that whenever they want to take action, the council will grow cold feet. So there's need for the council to take action on companies, withdraw such companies from tendering again. You would find here is a company which is doing this project. It will also do the other project, which they have not even finished the other project. No, that is wrong. It is the council which is to blame at the end of the day.
Thanks so much, Mr. Sakala. Let me come to you, Mr. Mkela. Mr. Sakala has highlighted with regards to observations around contractors. He says the council is toothless in certain contractors, and this is because most of them that are contracted to do tenders are politically inclined to the ruling party most of the times, and then when the council demands for expertise, it is very difficult, because obviously in a way you can't bite a finger that is feeding you, Mr. Mkela, as a council. I want you to take us through from the very beginning of the process of awarding a tender to a contractor. Let's start from there, Mr. Mkela. What is the process like?
Thank you very much for that particular question. Of course, the tendering process is very, very transparent. It's quite very, very clear. I must mention that from the onset, people that are supposed to be given contracts are Zambians. As long as you are a Zambian, you've got necessary documents, of course, you are eligible to any contract. So when a particular tender is opened, bids are flooded. Of course, you look at what they have done. Are these people registered? Yes, they are registered. Do they qualify for this particular project? Yes, they qualify. On the documents, it is not indicated where they are coming from, which political party they are affiliated, or which organization they are. What is there is that it is a company. This particular company is registered, and they have proved to us that, of course, they have done such works. And when they go through the papers, the evaluation team will be satisfied that this particular company is able to do, because several companies do apply, and then the evaluation team sits to evaluate those bidding documents, and at the end of the day, they pick on a company that they think is the best among those that have applied. So after the evaluation team has evaluated those particular individual companies, then the procurement committee sits to look at what the evaluation team has come up with. And then they also do their own diligence in order to come up with a contractor that is able to do these works. Remember that even from the presidents, it was clear, indicated to the councils, that individuals that are supposed to be awarded these contracts are the local people. Unless you don't find a suitable individual for that particular project, that is when you can go to the next district, eventually to the national, to the nation stage, where such individual qualifies for that. But if within the district, within the constituency, such individuals are found, then you can award them these contracts. So when all these are diligently looked at, then an award is given to a particular individual. Now, that process is done very, very clear. Now it comes to the execution of work itself. So when these individuals are given these contracts and they start work, that is where we see other contractors lagging behind, other contractors failing to live up to the contract. Now that is the problem that we have. And now it is at that stage that as a local authority, we take an action. The engineers on the ground, those that are monitoring these projects, have to go on the ground to see what is happening. And they have to do what they can do to push these contractors for them to be able to deliver. When they have done all these things and the contractors are failing to execute, then an action is taken. They are written to, indicating to them that if you are failing, we are giving you up to this date. If you are failing to do what you are supposed to do, then we'll have no option but to terminate the contract. So this is what happens. And if they don't improve in their contractual obligations, of course, such contractors have their contract terminated. And once that particular individual has their contracts terminated, of course, it will be very, very difficult for them to get other contracts with the council, because they have not proved to us that they are able to do these works. Because such individuals who have even terminated their contracts, how are you going to trust them to give them the next contract for them to deliver? So really, local contractors are being advised to ensure that they take these contracts very, very serious, because we're using public funds, and the value for money needs to be seen. And we have come out very, very clearly. We have not favored any particular contractor, because at the end of the day, Livingstone City Council is audited, and it is blamed for not doing what is supposed to be done. So really, we can't just afford to let such contractors go scot-free. So such contractors that are erring, of course, they may find it very, very difficult to get contractors, to get contracts in the future. So basically, that is the process under which we pass through. And I must indicate that during this process, of course, we are very, very transparent. And like now, what it is that the process of procuring has gone electronic. Projects are just floated on the electronic government procurement, EGP, and the contractors will see these contracts, will see these projects, and they'll be able to apply. So after applications, after they have made these applications, they are called, and then they are given these contracts. So that is how it is. So everyone else can be able to see these projects that have been floated on the EGP platform, and they are able to apply, so that at the end of the day, they are given these contracts.
Thank you, Samkela. Let me just invite our viewers in the comment section to also contribute and be part of this conversation. Please, wherever you are watching us, please feel free to contribute in the comment section. I also want to indicate that probably you might have seen the light system is a bit not very good. It's because we've reduced the light system on our equipment to save energy in the load management situation. So we want to save a bit of energy on our gadgets to ensure that we have this conversation last throughout. Now, Ms. Amkela, is there explicit guidance when it comes to the participation of politically inclined contractors? And I'm asking this question because there has been intensified cry with regards to the contract to do with supply of desks in Livingstone. Others have been saying most of the contractors are aligned to the ruling party, very incompetent, and they are the ones that are most led to the delay to have the desk supplied on time. And also, as you respond to this, give us a clear picture. Do we have the 5,000 desks now delivered to these particular schools? We remember that not so long ago, the tourism minister, who is also a member of parliament for this constituency, Lord Rodney Sikumba, did commission 4,000 desks as opposed to the actual 5,000. And this is because some contractors had not yet met their contractual obligations. Public outcry and general concern was that most of them are ruling UPND contractors, very incompetent, have never done any contract anywhere. Is there any explicit guidelines when it comes to contract tendering, especially for those contractors that are politically inclined?
Thank you very much. There isn't any explicit guidelines indicating who should get a contract and who shouldn't get a contract. The guideline is that Zambian people should be given contracts. Where they're coming from, where, as long as they are Zambians, they have got companies, these individuals are eligible to get contracts from these CDF projects. So really, for us, to some extent, it is quite difficult to know who is politically inclined. Because when they are applying, when they are bringing these documents, there isn't anywhere written that these individuals are coming from such a political party. So as long as we see that they've got these documents and these are right documents, they are offered these contracts. Those speculations could come maybe afterward when these people have been given contracts. There could be such rumors that no, such an individual belongs to such a party. But now, professionally, as neutral individuals that do not belong to any political party, our interest is to see that individuals that have got the papers, individuals that have got the right qualifications are given these jobs so that they execute. But then, when these individuals are given these contracts and they fail to perform, it doesn't matter which political party, which organization they are coming from. The law will take its course. We have to follow now the processes. What are we supposed to do when such an individual fails to deliver? One, they have to be written to. They have to be warned. If they fail completely, their contracts are terminated. If they were given any money and they have not delivered, they have to return the money. Otherwise, the courts of law will take its course and such individuals may be arrested. So that is the process which we follow as custodians of these funds. So those that are applying, those that are given these contracts, they just have to do what is supposed to be done. They have to do the right thing. They have to ensure that they deliver according to the contractual obligations that are in the contracts. Failure to which, of course, the law will take its course, and they may not be defended by anybody. So for us, we are not intimidated by any contractor. As long as they are Zambians and they have applied and they have been given this contract, they are supposed to live by those contractual obligations. Otherwise, we cannot spare them. So I need to be very, very clear here that, of course, such speculations that they're coming from certain political parties as individuals that are giving these people contracts. For us, we just look at the documentations. If they are the right documentations, they have the right documentations, they qualify for the job, we give them these contracts. Now, when it comes to because of course I know the most controversial issue here is to do with the procurement of desks, where we saw a number of individuals failing to live up to the contractual time frame in which they are supposed to deliver these desks. So we labored, of course, it was almost everybody who had been given these contracts. Almost everyone failed to deliver these desks on time, maybe only one or two contractors. So some of them may not have been also part of any political party, but they failed. They were giving their own reasons why they could not deliver on time. So after talking to them, after encouraging them, we saw these individuals start delivering these desks. Of course, we know that a few individuals also did not do what they are supposed to do. They didn't do the right thing. And some of the desks, of course, were not up to standard and they were rejected. That must be very, very clear. And now we are talking about over 4,500 desks have been delivered, and maybe around 800 not yet delivered. So such individuals that haven't delivered the desks have been written to, that we are terminating their contracts, and could possibly this very week we may finally, because we follow the process. After warning and you don't see any change, then you can finally terminate and advertise, so that other individuals, especially those that did very well when it came to the delivering of these desks, the supply of these desks, it can be given those contracts, so that the schools that are supposed to receive the desks are given. So that is what is happening. I must not hide here. I should say that at least one or two contractors are still struggling to bring these desks, and we are not just seated idle. We are pursuing them so that they deliver. And if at all they fail completely, the advance that they were given, they have to pay it back. That is how it is, because we are talking about the resources, the public resources that are being used here, and they must be used for the public, for the benefit of the people of Livingstone and Zambia in general.
Let's clarify one thing. At how much was each desk quoted for?
First of all, I wish just to mention here, maybe those that are good at arithmetics can do the calculations. We are supposed to make about 5,382 desks in Livingstone. Of course, when you look at these, they have got different categories. We've got desks, the double desks, where double-seater desks. We have single-seater desks. We have where it's just one individual, and we also have early child education for smaller ones. So they are in a different, of course, categories, but in total they are supposed to be 5,382. So the allocation, the budgetary allocation to these particular desks was about 5.7 million, but the actual amount that went to the desks is about 5.4 million. So depending on what people are making, is it double-seater, is it single-seater, is it for EEC, early childhood education? So that is how these were categorized, and at the end, the total amount which was supposed to be paid to these supply and delivery of these 5,382 desks is about 5.4 million.
Thank you so much.
So you'll discover that. Okay. Yes, you'll discover that when giving these contracts, on average, each contractor was supposed to deliver about between 200 and 270 pieces of desks.
200 and 270. Thanks so much, Mr. Mgela. Mr. Sakala, we have listened to Mr. Mukela explain the process of
Yes.
awarding contracts, tenders rather, to contractors from the very beginning. Now, I must make it very clear that the president had declared that no child in a school should sit on the floor as at December 2023. Livingstone entirely has had a deficit of 12,000 desks. So the 5,000 plus desks that Mr. Mukela has highlighted was in line with wanting to respond to the need, which was 12,000. Now, my question to you is, where then is the problem? Do you think the Constituency Development Fund, in a way, is a political tool to just give hype to the ruling parties that come in government in each constituency, or it is in good faith? And I want to also add that we have a 5 million kwacha plus that in a way the council has failed to handle. Mr. Mukala, we should be very clear. Then we have the Constituency Development Fund that has been increased in terms of allocation to 30,600,000 kwacha. Are we then given a I don't know if you got the question, Mr. Sakala.
No, you were breaking. You were breaking.
I'm asking, how should we make the management and probably implementation of CDF very easy, to the point where when contracts are given to contractors, they are delivered on time? Should we revise maybe the guidelines to make it very clear explicitly that people that are politically inclined in a way should not be able to tender? Or maybe we should give the local authorities more power by having clauses really that explicitly highlight.
Here, the problem is we need to give the local authority a lot of power so that they can be able to act swiftly. Because if anything, these desks were supposed to be in the schools by December. Today, we are going 5 months into the new year. These desks have not been delivered. Meaning, what are these contractors still doing on this issue of desks? Are they really working on them? Honestly, working on desks for the past, is it 6 months? Is it 5 months plus one now, from the time that, from December, and the council is still saying, we want to write to them, we want to warn them, we want to do that? No. Wakwetu, can the council take a whip? Can the council take action? Because it is too much. If I was a defaulter of rates today, the council writes to me, they will just give me, is it 14 days to pay? And if I don't pay, the council will send bailiffs to come and get my property. So we need more power. We need more power so that the council can be able to do this activity without fear or favor. Because if you read that report, there was at one of the names of the contractors, they said they were failing to locate him. Meaning what? He didn't have an address. He didn't have a phone. How did they agree for his tender? How? So we need the council or the government to revise this tendering procedure and give the council a lot of power to bite. The council should not be used at the end of the day. CDF is meant very well for the ordinary citizens to develop our town, to make sure that we are able to see development very fast. Now, if we are failing to see development very fast, like today, we are still talking about desks that were supposed to be delivered in December. Now we are going into 5 months. These desks are not there. And we are still waiting and saying, we will do that. No, Mr. Mkela, can we have a whip? And if you pay this, some of these contractors were paid. And they brought in very, very bad desks. Who are they going to pay back the money? How long will you give them so that they can pay back this money? We need these desks in the school. That is our money. They must know. By you, the council, delaying in cramping on these contractors, this is why people are raising a red flag of saying they are politically connected. And this is why the council is failing to do anything. Seriously. 5 months from December to date, it's a red flag. You know, even at the end of the day, if you look at the pricing of these desks, surely we must be able to find a fair price, not just giving out monies because because it's CDF and people should be dreaming of prizes. Because if you look at it, 5,000 plus desks, is it? And 5 million? Well, it simply tells you to say one desk is either costing 500,000 or 600,000 or 700,000 per desk. Is that true? Can we get that desk for 8,000 for one? No, we need to find a way of dealing with these contractors that have failed. Let's get our money and put it to good use so that people can be able to get the right price and the right desks for our children.
Thanks so much, Mr. Sakala. We are experiencing a bit of poor connectivity, but we are almost concluding this conversation. We hope and pray that the internet will give us time to conclude this wonderful conversation. I should mention, in case there are those that have just joined us on this live discussion, discussing the general management Constituency Development Fund of awarding constituency. Of course, I should be very quick to mention that this discussion is basically as a result of the baseline study that was conducted by the Alliance for Community Action in Mazabuka and Milanzi constituencies, that is on the southern part and on the eastern part of the country. Now, this particular study was carried out to assess the extent at which social accountability for the Constituency Development Fund is being done. Now, this is part of the Deepening Democracy Facility project being implemented by the Alliance for Community Action ACA with support from Diaconia, and is aimed at, like I said, enhancing social accountability for Constituency Development Fund. Mr. Sakala, do you think CDF itself is a tool for development, or just a tool to enhance political mileage by the ruling parties that come in these areas? I don't know what is happening with your audio. We can't hear you. Check, probably could have muted your microphone. We can't hear you still, Mr. Sakala. There could be a problem with your earpods.
Hello.
Still no sound from end. Yes, you can go on now. Now we can hear you. Again, we are unable. Just try to check the connectivity of your earpods, Mr. Sakala.
Ilibwanja.
Try to speak.
Ilibwanja.
Go on. Yes. Now you can talk. You can go ahead.
Okay. What I was saying was that CDF itself is a tool for development, but it is the individual people, different individual people, that are trying to make it look as if it's a political tool, because they are failing to use the monies correctly. They're failing to award projects correctly. If they could award project correctly and use the money correctly, we have seen, is it Savonga or Chirundu, where they are at 100%? How are they doing it? It's because they are following what they're supposed to do. Even in here where we are, or elsewhere where CDF is being implemented and not correctly, they should take a leaf and be able to see that this these monies are used correctly. People are benefiting out of CDF. What are they benefiting? For example, the same desks, the same bridges that people are trying to talk about, drainages that we want to see. You know, we can, this CDF is a tool, really tool for development, such that it's a blank check given to the constituency, such that the MPs, the mayors, the councillors should take hold of that money and be able to say, okay, here is our money, and here is what we can use, so that people can see how we are working. But unfortunately, people don't seem to take advantage of CDF to use it correctly. They do their own things which are not there.
No, are you done talking, Mr. Sakala? Sorry, internet had misbehaved on my end. Well, as we are coming to the close of the discussion, Mr. Mkela, going forward, you are still on the floor, Mr. Sakala. Please conclude.
Yeah, what I'm saying, maybe even my concluding remarks would be, the council should be proactive, because if the council is not proactive at the end of the day, this is why we are seeing these contractors taking advantage of the council, taking advantage of us people, because for me, I'll only breathe if the council takes up an action. For example, if I may ask Mr. Mkela a question, how many tenders has the council cancelled from the time that CDF was brought in, so that we see to say, okay, contract X and X, we are given a boot, and these are supposed to be brought to the fore of the people, that people know to say, oh yeah, because they failed to work. If they do that, all the contractors will sit up. But for now, contractors are playing a laissez-faire game at the end of the day. I thank you.
Just lastly, Mr. Sakala, when all these concerns are being noted, you as civil society organizations, I thought you are also supposed to be in the forefront in terms of demanding for social accountability. I mean, we now have access to information, although its implementation is really yet to be seen. But then, what are you doing really in terms of ensuring that the right thing is being done in as far as CDF management and implementation is concerned?
Great. There is what we can do is, as far as that, going to monitor, coming back, talking to the council to say this is not right. Can we have this corrected? We have been monitoring some of the projects which we have seen and which are going on in the constituency, and we've been giving feedback to my brother, Mr. Mkela, to say, these things are not going on right, because we know that at the end of the day, Mr. Mkela can do so much. The people who have the whip are the people that are supposed to be they themselves, the politicians, to put it into writing so that there is something written at the end of the day.
Thanks so much, Mr. Mkela. As we conclude, what is the take home?
We have lost you, Mr. Mover.
The internet is misbehaving that side.
Yeah, maybe it's using 3G.
We have migrated to 5G.
Hello, Mr. Mover.
Mr. Mkela, did you get the question as we conclude?
No. We lost you completely.
Mr. Mkela,
You may just ask me that. Yes, I can now hear you. I can hear you now. Can you ask? You are frozen again.
Maybe Mr. Mkela, we need to say bye-bye, because it's like he has gone off.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, looking partly on what he was asking, the take-home points are that, of course, members of the public are concerned on how these projects are being executed, and they expect more from the contractors, they expect more from the local authority. And we wish to assure members of the public that we shall continue doing our best in order to get the best of what should come from these projects. So criticisms that are coming from members of the public are quite critical to us because they help us to change, they shape us to do the right thing at the end of the day. We are not going to spare contractors that are erring. They need to do the correct thing. What I need to mention here is that CDF is well meant to develop the constituencies. With the promotion of the decentralization policy, it is the only way we can see the true effect of decentralization, because it gives powers to the local people to decide on what they want to have in their particular localities. So we should not trivialize CDF. We should not take it as a political thing, but it is something that will help members of the public. It just goes on how people that are handling this money are handling it. So the contractors, first of all, they need to be up to the game. They need to live up to the contracts. We don't want a situation where the local contractors fail us and then we start looking for contractors elsewhere. That would be very, very bad. So they need to ensure that they check their houses and put their houses in order so that we deliver the best for our district. We want our district, our constituency to develop, and it can only develop if we utilize this money in a more efficient and effective manner. And that is what we want as a local authority. So we shall not relent in punishing those that are erring by way of terminating their contracts. Of course, we have terminated 1 or 2 contracts. We have stopped some contracts. For example, the Mwandi police post, the one who started that contract, after seeing that he had failed, we removed and put another person to continue with the next phase. The Dambwa North, the Bosona Road drainage, the one who was doing that has been terminated, and the one that is going to complete that project, somebody else. So that is how serious it is. So contractors need to are not supposed to relent. They need to put their best so that we get the best out of these projects. Thank you so much, Mr. Muba, though we had lost you.
Yes, internet seemed to not favor us, especially towards the speed part of the conversation.
Yeah,
well, I guess this concludes. Yeah, you were saying, Mr.
Yeah, I think. Yes. I was just saying that those were my concluding remarks over this discussion that we had today, this evening.
This concludes our first episode of Continued Demand for Accountability, that is social accountability as far as management and implementation of the Constituency Development Fund is concerned. My guests today were Mr. Moses Sakala. He is a community engagement manager for a civil society organization known as Development 360 here in Livingstone. Thank you so much, Mr. Sakala, for your time. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much, Gabriel.
You're welcome. I also had the spokesperson of the Livingstone City Council, Mr. Malvin Mukela. Thank you so much, Mr. Mukela, and it's also a pleasure to have you on such matters.
It is my pleasure. Good evening.
All right. We would like to thank you, all the viewers, but we would apologize for the break in transmission at some point. It was due to internet failure, and also we want to mention that the seeming bad lighting system is because we are being load shedded. So we wanted to try as much as possible to prolong the conversation in order not to cut it short. But we are so grateful that you managed to stay through the end of the conversation. We want to appreciate the Alliance for Community Action and Akone for having this discussion. We will have another conversation on Tuesday, bordering on the social accountability as far as Constituency Development Fund is concerned. Thank you so much, and let's meet on Tuesday, same time, same platforms.
Bye. Goodbye.